Hey everybody, this is Nate. You're watching WASD20, and today I wanted to do my first GM journal. I'm actually probably going to make this episode number 2 because I had a video a while back. I think I'm going to go back and change the title of to GM journal number 1. So GM journal number 2 here, I guess. I'm going to be talking about my first experience as GM for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, which is the new system that I've been really into. I'm loving it. I've got all the 3 core books, and I thought I really got a DM if I got the core books, right? I had the DMG, well, I got a DM. So I have been trying to get my brother into it for a while now, and my good friend he's in, he wants in. So I've been trying to get together with them and run a game for just them for a while now, for a few months, and it finally happened a couple weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. So the other thing, this was my first time really doing any sort of world building, running anything that was homebrew, that was not a pre-written adventure or just something very light and generic. So I actually wanted to build some places that are going to have some permanence and that I can continue to build on. So I made 3 towns, 3 cities, I guess. One was a small town, one was a bigger town, and there's a big dwarven city that's not too far. And it was also my first time then kind of writing my own adventure where it's a storyline that I have crafted and that I am bringing players through, albeit giving them some freedom too. So this is a very new experience for me. I've probably GM'd about, I don't know, it depends on how you count it, I guess, but I think about 4 times ever. So it's something that I'm very new to. I've been a player quite a bit more, but I've only been a player for 8 months now, 7 months. So not very long with that either. And my brother is totally new to it. My friend has played a little. So we were all pretty new to it. We did it over Google+. And my brother, he's an actor, first of all. So that's one reason I wanted to ask him, because I know that, role-playing, acting, he's okay with being a little bit ridiculous, right? I think. And then my brother is also really into monster movies and horror. And so I wanted to pull some of that in to get him interested. So I made a werewolf adventure. And I'd thought about maybe using the Ravenloft setting, because that's very horror-friendly, obviously. But in the end, I just decided I don't know enough about that setting. That would probably take a lot of reading on my part. I'm just going to create a more generic kind of fantasy setting and, populate it with some pretty serious monsters, right? So the first one was werewolf. And I won't go into all the details of the story, but I'll reflect on a couple things that happened that I think are worth talking about. And one is they killed a major NPC. I'm sorry, they didn't kill. They scared off a major NPC that I had planned to help them. Thus, that NPC was not able to help them. So that's one thing that happened. They both picked Dragonborn, which is interesting. They didn't know that of each other. They both separately wanted to be a Dragonborn because, well, who doesn't want to be like this awesome dragon person, right? Well, a lot of you maybe don't, but they did. And so I decided, sure, we'll go with this. This will make it interesting. This will make it challenging because you're not going to be accepted in this world very easily. There's going to be some skepticism of you. There is going to be some fear, perhaps, and certainly some respect too, but you're going to face some challenges, right? So they did. They had a challenge even getting into the town, first of all, and then they had a challenge in the tavern where they visited first, being accepted there. They almost got kicked out, and there was just a lot of hostility. Then they wanted to get into a brothel because they were trying to get some information, and they weren't able to do that because they were Dragonborn. But getting back to the NPC they scared off, they threatened this NPC and told him, you got to get us into this brothel or else, I can't remember what they said, but, we're going to kill you or something like that. So they scared him off. He ran off. Torf Spadeforge, a young dwarf of 50 years old, of noble birth. First they pickpocket him, then they scare him off. so much for that, right? But I was able to work it out where, they befriended a good guard, because a lot of the guards in this town were corrupt and bad and in league with the local gangs. So they ended up befriending a good guard who then helped them out and kind of filled that role. So that it did work out. But yeah, it was a challenge because like, oh no, I kind of developed this character and now you've scared him off. But you know, that's their player agency, and that's something I'm gonna always have to adjust to. And it's not the first time that's happened, I'm sure. I've probably done it before too. In fact, you know, Provokers episode 1. Yeah, there's this NPC in the tavern there who we scare off. I wonder what Matt had planned for him. Don't tell us, Matt. So the challenge of an NPC that you have developed. I didn't have a character sheet or anything like that. I didn't go crazy. But I developed him. Actually, I did have a character sheet because I just pulled an old level 1 dwarf fighter that I had in a folder that I had made for one of my videos. So anyway, whatever. It worked out. And the other thing is my friend wanted to be a rogue, and he was a pickpocket. He was very skilled at sleight of hand, and he ended up pickpocketing a guard when they went into the city and got a set of keys. And they became very concerned with how they were going to use these keys. And I didn't have anything planned for that. So, you know, I kind of said, well, they could get into this guard tower by the gate. There's a barracks, but they ended up befriending a guard and getting into the barracks that way. So I don't think I did that justice, but I don't know if I have to plan for, well, you've pickpocketed a guard. It might not be up to me necessarily to spoon feed some way that you can then use that key. Maybe you'll have to save it for a future scenario. Maybe it'll come in handy somewhere down the line. But then again, this was a one-shot, so maybe it'll be a campaign. Who knows? Another thing that I realized is that I had the adventure written out, and I kind of had this cool story of basically there's a werewolf that is, there's a mystery of murders happening in town. It's prostitutes that have their throats torn out. And some people wonder if it's this elven ranger who has a wolf companion. He's been seen in town a lot more. He's been drinking more. He's been visiting the brothel. So, good possibility there. But it was actually a werewolf, and it was actually his lover's. His lover was this elven druid who he had lived with. The ranger, you know, and there were a number of rangers out in the wilderness in this area that were protecting the towns, and had done so for decades, and you know, others like them for centuries. This one had a druid lover, and she became a werewolf, and she had been murdering the prostitutes. Now that presented a problem because afterwards I was thinking about this. Well, how does that work with the full moon? Because these have been happening for a couple weeks now, the murders, a few weeks maybe, and wouldn't the werewolf thing only be, once a month? So, yeah. Anyway, don't think too hard about it, right? Just don't think too hard about it, people. But, yeah, then the other thing with the whole werewolf thing is, would she be conscious of who she's killing? And this I just don't know. I got to read my my monster manual a little more carefully. Maybe that will have the info there. I did read the entry on werewolf, but I think I have to read probably the general entry on lycanthropes too. So, yeah, there were some possible inconsistencies there, but oh well, whatever. Don't think too hard. And that's stuff that I'll just learn as I get more familiar with the monsters, right? The other thing was at the end I kind of told them, well, here was her motive, and here's what's going on. And I pulled back the curtain a little bit. And I don't know if I should have done that. Certainly, and if it were an ongoing campaign, I would not do that. Because I want to save some mystery here. And maybe you'll discover more about what happened there next time. But this was a one-shot. I worked hard on the story. I just thought, well, here's kind of, she was jealous that he was going into town whoring. And so she killed the whores. And then eventually turned and killed him. So I guess a couple things there. A, should I be telling them that? Or it's a one-shot, so I tend to think it's fine, whatever, casual. Pull back the curtain a little bit. And then B, more importantly probably, I probably should have found ways to put that into the game for them to discover on their own, right? That I don't just have to say, here's what actually happened afterwards, right? That probably would be the best thing. So while I don't think this is some terrible thing that I told them, and they probably could have connected the dots anyway, I would say 50-50 that they got that. This was because she was jealous of what he was doing. But yeah, anyway, it is what it is. So I had a good time. I'm not sure if they're going to want to play again. I think my friend definitely is going to want to play again. My brother, this was kind of new. I think it's kind of weird for him, and an interesting experience, and kind of challenging in some ways, in terms of the role playing and in terms of the mechanics. Not something that comes natural, even though he's an actor. It didn't really, it wasn't like, well, let me get into this other character. It's a little awkward, right? So maybe he'll want to do it again, and if so, I'll definitely run another game for them, and then maybe after that, maybe try to bring in some more players and get an ongoing campaign going. We'll see. But yeah, I had a great time. They said they had a great time too, so that's great. So putting some of these D&D, 5e books to use feels good. Getting some money's worth out of them, other than just sitting on the couch and reading them, which is great too. But next ahead of me is the task of preparing for my next game, which is tomorrow night, and that is my Pathfinder game, Rise of the Runelords. First time in a few months that I've run that, and that will be good. So I've been working on that, and I'm probably going to have a video on that soon, how that's going, and yeah, keep this GM journal thing going. So I want to thank those on the brigade who suggested the idea of doing player journals or GM journals. I think it's a great idea, and I'm going to continue to do it. I do plan to do a player journal for the character I'm playing in the Provokers, Erdan. Something that's not too spoilery and doesn't reveal anything that hasn't been revealed in game already, but just talk about my experience of how that character is and yeah, how it is playing that character. Because there's some challenges there. So, yeah, I look forward to that too. And, yeah, everyone, thanks for joining me for this one. Leave any comments or questions. Love to hear from you. I know a lot of you more experienced DMs out there probably would have some good feedback for me. I welcome it. And until next time, everybody take care.